They noticed of the moment she walked in, not because she stood out, but because she didn't. She moved quietly through the hospital corridors, eyes lowered, voice rarely raised, always clutching a clipboard like it was a shield. To them, she was invisible, and when she wasn't invisible, she was underestimated. The stares came first, then the whispers, then the mocking smiles that said everything without saying a word. No one believed she belonged in critical care. No one believed she had earned her place. And certainly no one believed she mattered. But on that morning, as the hospital doors burst open and the sound of rotors shook the ground, everything changed. Because the Navy helicopter wasn't there for a surgeon. It wasn't there for a commander. It was there for her. Before this story unfolds, make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel Black Legacy, because stories like this deserve to be heard. The hospital stood like a fortress of glass and steel, built to project authority, precision, and control. It served as a regional trauma center, one of the most advanced facilities in the state, where egos often ran as high as credentials. White coats ruled these halls, and hierarchy was everything. Titles mattered, voices mattered, appearances mattered most of all. She arrived every morning before sunrise, always early, always prepared. Her scrubs were pressed, her badge clean, her movements deliberate. She didn't linger in break rooms or join gossip-filled huddles near nurses' stations. She worked, she listened, she learned, and she kept her head down. Her presence unsettled people in ways they didn't admit. She was young, black, and unusually calm. She didn't react when her authority was questioned. She didn't argue when her decisions were second-guessed. She didn't snap back when sarcasm dripped from comments disguised as jokes. That silence was interpreted as weakness. Supervisors overlooked her, doctors spoke over her, fellow nurses sometimes treated her like a trainee long past orientation. The assumptions were always the same. She must have been hired to fill a quota. She must have transferred from a less demanding unit. She must not be ready for pressure. What no one bothered to ask was where she trained, or why she had a habit of scanning exits, or why her posture straightened instinctively whenever alarms sounded, or why her medical notes were so precise they read like after-action reports. Her past stayed where she left it, locked away behind discipline and restraint. She understood systems, she understood how power worked, and she understood something else, too. Survival often depended on staying underestimated. The tension around her grew quietly. A senior physician known for his temper and his unchecked authority seemed particularly irritated by her presence. He didn't like her calm. He didn't like that she never appeared flustered. He didn't like that she didn't fear him. And so he began pushing, questioning her charting, publicly correcting her over minor details, assigning her to tasks meant to remind her of her place. Others noticed, some watched silently, some joined in, none intervened. The hospital prided itself on teamwork, but beneath the surface, bias thrived. It thrived in who was trusted and who was scrutinized. It thrived in who was praised and who was doubted. And it thrived most in moments of crisis, when fear revealed who people truly believed in. That morning began like any other until the emergency alert came through. A classified military transport incident, severe trauma, multiple casualties. One patient in particular required immediate specialized care. The hospital was notified with urgency, bordering on panic. Security protocols activated, administrators scrambled, doctors assembled, and still, no one looked at her. She took her position without being asked. She reviewed incoming data, she prepared equipment with efficiency that went unnoticed, and she waited because she knew something they didn't. The arrival was chaos wrapped in discipline. Military vehicles lined the entrance. Armed personnel moved with practiced urgency. Their faces carried the weight of something heavier than injury. This wasn't just a patient. This was an asset, a life tied to missions that would never be spoken aloud. Inside the trauma bay, tension coiled tight. Orders overlapped, egos collided. The senior physician asserted control loudly, aggressively, determined to prove dominance in front of both staff and military observers. His voice cut through the room like a blade. She stood slightly apart, monitoring vitals, reading the body language of everyone present. She recognized the signs others missed: the irregular breathing pattern, the subtle neurological indicators, the kind of details drilled into people who train for battlefield medicine, where mistakes cost lives in seconds, not minutes. She attempted to contribute, not with force, not with confrontation, but with clarity. Her observations were dismissed, her calm recommendations brushed aside. The physician grew irritated, interpreting her input as defiance rather than competence. The room watched as he berated her openly, questioned her credentials, questioned why she was even assigned to this case. The silence from others was deafening. No one stepped in, no one defended her. She absorbed it all without reaction. No visible anger, no embarrassment, only focus. Outside, the military officers exchanged glances. They noticed what others didn't: her stance, her situational awareness, the way she tracked every movement in the room without turning her head. One of them frowned, uneasy. As the patient's condition deteriorated, the margin for error vanished. The physician's decisions grew erratic under pressure. He pushed forward, refusing to adjust his approach, refusing to acknowledge the warning signs she had quietly flagged. Then, everything went wrong. Alarm screamed. The room froze for half a second that felt like an eternity. Panic rippled through the staff. The physician barked orders, but uncertainty crept into his voice. She moved before commission was given. Her actions were controlled, decisive, almost surgical in their precision. She stabilized critical functions with speed that startled even the most seasoned staff. Muscle memory took over, training resurfaced, years of experience buried beneath silence surged forward. The military officers stepped closer. The physician snapped at her, demanding she stand down. His authority was slipping, and he could feel it. He felt threatened, not just professionally, but personally, because in that moment, it was undeniable who would control the situation. Then the sound came, a low thunder at first, distant, growing. The building vibrated as rotor blades cut through the air. The room went still. The Navy helicopter descended into the courtyard with force that demanded attention. Soldiers poured out, their urgency unmistakable. A commanding officer entered the hospital with purpose, eyes scanning until they found her. Everything stopped. The officer didn't address the physician, didn't acknowledge administration. His gaze locked on the quiet nurse. He demanded her by name. The room shifted. Shock rippled through every face. The physician's expression collapsed from authority into disbelief, because the helicopter hadn't come for the patient alone. It had come for her. The truth surfaced with a weight of revelation. She wasn't just a nurse. She was a highly trained combat medical specialist with years embedded alongside Navy SEAL units. She had served in environments where hospitals didn't exist, where decisions were made under fire, where lives depended on calm under unimaginable pressure. Her silence was never weakness. It was discipline. Her restraint was never fear. It was control. The commanding officer explained with cold clarity that the patient required someone with her exact background, someone who had trained with him, someone who had saved lives in places most of the room could barely imagine. The physician stood frozen, stripped of status in seconds. Every mocking remark, every dismissive glance, every public humiliation replayed in his mind with crushing clarity. She stepped forward, finally acknowledged, finally seen as she took over. The room followed without resistance. Her instructions were precise. Her presence anchored the chaos. The patient stabilized under her guidance, not through force or volume, but through mastery. The military observed silently, satisfied. The hospital administration arrived too late to stop what had already happened. Reputations crumbled quietly. Power shifted invisibly. The physician attempted to regain control, but authority once lost cannot be reclaimed easily. His voice lacked conviction. His posture shrank. She never looked at him, because she didn't need to. The helicopter remained waiting, rotors idling, a reminder that the world was far bigger than this hospital, and that real power often moved quietly until it was needed. When the patient was secure for transfer, the commanding officer saluted her. The gesture carried weight no badge in that room could rival. After the helicopter lifted off, the hospital felt different, quieter, heavier. The staff avoided eye contact with her as she returned to her routine. Some were ashamed, some were shaken, some were defensive. None spoke. The physician faced consequences not announced publicly, but felt deeply. His authority eroded, complaints surfaced, patterns were recognized. Silence no longer protected him. As for her, nothing about her changed. She continued to arrive early, continued to work with focus, continued to move quietly through corridors that now watched her differently. Respect replaced dismissal, but she didn't seek it. Validation wasn't her goal. The impact of that day extended beyond one hospital. It echoed in every moment where someone was underestimated because of how they looked instead of what they carry within them. The lesson was brutal and undeniable. Competence does not always announce itself. Strength does not always shout. And those society chooses to ignore are often the ones holding everything together. Racism thrives on assumptions.